Hey guys, welcome to the RoundTable, episode 80. I'm Jenny Walker, the social media ministry leader here at Life Church, and this is Mike Hill, our pastor.
There, we did it.
Got it right. I always call him something different.
Pastor.
Who knows?
Because I don't want any titles. So
Yes, right.
Teaching guy up on the front's perfectly fine. With
Some weird guy that stands up front.
Because I was just listening to podcasts this morning when I was making feed for Isaac, and I was listening through it, and we're like, nope, we still didn't get it done again. The last podcast.
Oh, the last one?
Yeah.
Wait, what did I say the last time?
We got it. You said
Lead the pastor?
You started off going, see.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I don't know why.
Something. But either way.
But I got it right this time.
Yeah, good.
Yep. And we haven't had two guests on the podcast in a really long time, actually. But we have Carrie. Oh my gosh. I combined your names.
Thank you.
Karen and Gary Rice.
It's not me.
I combined your names.
Yeah, that's
Have you
okay.
ever been called that? Like Carrie?
Carrie?
Yeah, so Karen and then Gary.
Do you see
if
him?
you
They're
add
like,
it,
nope,
okay, just me.
Yeah.
That would make sense that it would only be me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, with two guests, we always got to keep it moving because
Yes.
we struggle to stay within an hour anyway,
Yeah.
just with one guest. So to be able to kind of get your guys' story and what's going on. And so whoever wants to start, like, is one of you more of a talker than the other?
Oh, that would be good.
Really?
Oh, definitely.
So we'll have to specifically be like, okay, hey, like, what do you? So tell us a little bit about you. Like, what's going on in your life now? What do you love to do? What's happening? Are you watching something on? What's the main focus of life, or what's going on in your life today?
Really, right now, our life revolves around our family. We've got seven girls, 3 son-in-laws.
Wow.
7 girls.
And we try to
7
stay-
girls.
See, I thought it was bad when we only had Lexi and we took in
my
those
gosh.
kids. And then we had 4 girls
Yeah.
in the house, and I'm like, this is like almost awful. Like all of them are on their period at the same time.
Yeah,
and they're all
no,
grumpy at the
that
same time.
happens.
You know what I mean? They're all PMSing at the same
We
time.
Yeah.
had 7 of them living there at the same time.
No, I know.
Oh my gosh.
Because that was the
We did for a while. There for a while. We had 9. Remember when we
Oh
had
my
some of the
gosh.
foster kids?
Yeah, but that was only for like maybe a year.
So having
That's a long time.
having 4 girls, I thought I had it bad.
Yeah,
7
7.
girls in a house is like
Karen's got a really kind heart.
Yes, she does. I agree.
because there are significant differences in girls and boys when
Yes.
it comes to the whole like
Oh, yeah.
drama aspect of it all.
I
Yep.
don't like drama.
Yeah, I know. But don't it seem like girls get in it more than boys?
Yeah.
I think like they go to school and it's more dramatic
Yeah.
at school, and when they come home, issues tend to be more dramatic, you know, than it is with.
Well, I'm sure with like 7 siblings, especially if they're close in age, like with girls, I feel like they would be upset, like, you talked to my boyfriend or something like that, you know?
No, actually, it worked out good because the older ones kind of helped out with the younger ones.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
that's
And
amazing.
we started out. We had her 4, and we prayed about it, and we felt called to do foster care. And Karen and I prayed, and we agreed to one because felt like
Were you going to
done-
do foster care, or did you want to do foster to adopt? Like, did you
No.
go
Just
into it with
foster.
just
No,
foster
we
care?
just felt called to help. We thought,
Okay.
well, the Lord's blessed us upon us. I think we do 4 okay,
Right.
you know. And
One foster child.
one, you know, to make up for Jesse going to college.
You just keep replacing it?
Yeah.
That's what I had in mind. And
Yeah. It didn't work out.
no. The first one was on Karen's birthday or close to it.
It
And
was on my birthday.
they said, well, she goes, they called, they got 2. I go, well, we agreed to 1.
They said for 2 weeks.
They
Right.
did say that.
They said it was for 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. And that's Abby
But it
and
wasn't
Bella.
2 weeks.
No, that's Abby and Bella. That's our 2.
Yeah.
They're 15 and I don't know.
13.
13 now.
Yeah. So you ended up adopting him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They-
So no plan for foster to adopt, but it
No.
turned into.
They went back to mom within 2 weeks and then come back
And
Yeah.
just never left.
and then
after
never
that.
left after that. So.
Right.
It's been a blessing for us. And I mean,
Right.
the Lord, but He's put a lot of people in our path to guide us along
Yeah.
and to help us understand and to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the older ones have always helped out.
Which that's
With the
amazing.
younger
That's
So you had 5
that's a way to do it.
biological,
4.
4 biological,
Yeah.
and 3 foster to adopt, or you just adopted?
Foster to adopt.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm always interested in this because I've always said, like, it seems weird to me that the call of the church, right? So pure and faultless religion is to take care of the orphan and the widow.
It could have been one of the
We
three.
had audio difficulties, so now we're back.
We're back.
Nick probably will piece it together. Nobody will even know.
Nope.
Yeah.
Never happened.
But anyway, so back to the whole idea. And I don't know how far we want to go into this, but so the church. So when we were looking at this, we thought it through foster care, right?
Yep.
Amazing, because the law had changed then. So termination of parental rights changed. I don't know how many years ago this was, but it made it easier for kids to be adopted out of foster care, right? Or because of before there were certain things that they had to go back and forth, and if they were with their parents within 1 year, and then they're not up, their parental rights aren't terminated. But some of that stuff had changed, right? So anyway, so you could get, this is what's crazy, you could get a booklet back then of all of the kids whose parental rights have been terminated, right? Like it's
Wow.
just sit there and look at it. I mean, there's all these kids in Northeast Indiana.
Good thing I didn't find that one.
You could go through this. It's
Yes.
almost like shopping.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
you shop through this book, and and
Wow.
again, it was the hard to adopt kids. Sibling groups. Nobody wanted sibling groups.
no.
Yeah.
Very few white people wanted African American kids.
Yeah.
So like you'd go through this book, and I'm always like,
5.
seems
Yeah.
weird to me that here's the church, and James says pure and faultless religion is taking care of the orphan and the widow. Because I've always said, how weird would it be for these kids to age out of foster care, right?
Yeah.
So here's the idea. So there are kids every single day aging out of
Yes.
foster care.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when it's time to walk down the aisle, who's walking down that? What father is going to walk a daughter down the aisle because
They don't
they
have
didn't do it? And the reason being is because in the church's mind, all of the problems that go with foster kids, right?
Yep.
They'll bring them in. They're going to affect your own kids.
Yeah.
They're
We've
going
heard
to
that,
cause
don't we?
Yeah.
problems. They're going to be, all of the stuff that goes into it. So maybe because people have heard me gripe on this for years. Like I've said it from the front 100 times.
Yeah,
I
you
get
have.
it. Not everybody's call
Right.
is to take care of these kids, but I do think that it's weird. The number of people in churches today
Yeah.
should empty the foster care system.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't even get it. Like I mean, even if it was 10% of the people inside of the church,
Yeah.
they would say, you know what, we have the ability, we feel the calling. Because here's the thing I've always said: if God has a need, He's calling people. Like I don't think it's from a lack of people being called. You know what I mean? Like I don't think He would say,
Right.
take care of the orphan and the widow, and then not put
Yeah.
a calling on enough people's life to empty the foster care system. Like why would any kid ever age out of the foster care system?
Because people don't listen.
Well,
Yeah.
and you think about it in real life terms here. Okay, you can say, well, they're not listening. Okay, but now I'm the head of the household here. I'm going to take on 3 more kids. Now I can barely afford to
Yeah, for
Yeah.
afford that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Lord, how am I going to do this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's my point about the church. Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea then why the church, because I've always said the job of Life Church, or the job of the church, is to support those who are called, right?
Yes.
Not call them to support what you're doing. You know what I mean? Don't call them into this 5,000 things to do at the church because you decided it was what they needed to do. But make that minimal. Make what Life Church does minimal. We have to do these 5 things, and we need some help, right? So there ought to be enough volunteers. We ought to be able to spread it out. You should still have tons of time to go through your calling. And when that calling is restricted by something, whatever that is, isn't the jobs of the church is to remove the lid?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've had, when we were restricted, there were times financially that we had trouble. And we never really went to the church, but we were close with our church family, and people have stepped in and helped us, or they've stepped in and
Yeah.
they've guided us mainly with a lot lot and here's, you
Right.
know, Gary, here's what I would do. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for
Or
sure.
I'm not telling you what to do, but I can,
Right. Right.
these are probably your clearer options here.
And do you think that the majority of people who are choosing not to engage into the foster care system are because they know it and they choose not to? They've been called and choose not to. They've been called and they choose not to because of financial reasons, or is it they have no idea?
I don't know. I think a lot of us probably scared. I know I was
Yeah.
scared. I didn't know what. I mean, here I am going to take some other kids in, and I don't know how I'm going to handle this. Our
Yeah.
only criteria was that we stuck to, and it was. I still think it was a sound decision because we had 4 girls at home. The only thing we wanted to bring in was girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That was
Right.
smart. Yeah.
But other than that, it was pretty much.
And I was more open to it than he was.
Okay.
I mean,
In the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a lot of talking to get him talked into do it.
That's why we started with the 1.
That very quickly turned into 2.
And you again, and like I
That's been a
said,
blessing.
so from the standpoint of, like you said, because this is part of it. So the man is the head of the house, spiritual leader. That's
Yeah.
what God
Yes.
calls him to do. So do you think it is most men are like, no way, I'm never bringing kids into my
Yeah.
house?
I don't know. I think there's just a lot of responsibility there, and I mean, I know I didn't have the skills to deal with all these, and Karen didn't either. But there again, the Lord provided a lot of people in our paths, and if you look down, you'll probably see that in your life too. That,
Yeah.
you know, even the financial part of it. Okay, now when I said I didn't make enough money to support him, I was serious.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, now I mean, I do now. You know, and the Lord's opened a lot of doors, and I mean, I've had to do a lot of hard work for it, but that's
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, I see like, I really don't even know if I can speak on this situation because I have nothing to do with it. But like with the fostering or being a man, but I think it's selfishness. I think we get comfortable in our own homes, and the thought of bringing somebody in is just, I think it's complete selfishness from the person. It's a lot to give up your home and your children and
That's a lot
your
to
time.
bear,
Yeah.
because you bear your whole life
We're all busy.
to these. You know, I mean, you know, up until then, you can put on some type of facade, but now I'm going to open up the door. These kids are going to come in. Okay, I'm okay with the kids coming in. Now the
DCS.
DCS is going to come in. They're going to look around. You know, I mean, I have nothing to hide.
Right.
But and honestly, at that point, you don't because
they know
everybody's
everything.
there.
Yeah.
You've been there. You know.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, the times that, because we even had, once we took in kids and we weren't even in the foster care.
Yeah.
So we got licensed. And then Gina came to me on a Sunday and said, hey, the Clark kids know you. Like, can you take them? And so the 3 youngest were here. And I'm like, called Sherry. I'm like, hey, you remember? We took them, you know.
You just took them?
Yeah. And
That
then I
day?
just told her, like, hey, and then they brought the 2 oldest.
Oh.
Josh did later on. But in that process, you know, one of the things that kids are really good at, you know, so foster kids and kids that have been in this, they know how to work the system.
Oh, absolutely.
And so there were times
sure.
like they didn't like the discipline. And so they would tell somebody at school that we weren't taking care of them, or that like
You were hurting them or
we hurt 'em.
something.
And so
Yeah.
DCS would
Yep.
call and be like, come on out. You know, come on out.
Oh my
guys.
gosh.
I don't feel ashamed.
No.
You know, because people would be like, oh my gosh, you got DCS called on him. Like, yeah, just come on out.
We're used
You
to
can
it.
look through, go through everything. You can believe them if you want. Talk to everybody else. This is the way it works. But-
Yeah.
So this is like a bigger subject. So I want you guys' thoughts on this. So the other piece that has always went with that. So for you to do it, it took, God said, right?
Yes.
So commandment. So he tells us, pure and false religions take care of the orphan and the widow. So a commandment to all Christian people is to take care of the least of these. And I think when he talks about orphan and widows, he's saying it from the standpoint of they can't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of least of these people guys that have fallen up on bad times. But at the end of the day, a man could still get up and work.
Right.
A man
Right.
could still get up and do, back in that culture, a man could still go out and get a job.
Yes.
Widows and orphans had no opportunity to be able to go to those places or do any of
No,
those things.
especially at that time, women couldn't.
Yeah.
Right. So this
They
was
were-
to say that Christian people need to, by faith, stand in the gap for those who can't. So
Yes.
command. Now, there's lots of those in Scripture, lots of things that he tells us to do. But the problem becomes is that the only way to get it done is an act of faith.
Right.
Right. And so my biggest struggle has always been with the church. Like, I think people are very good at coming to church,
Yeah.
learning more about Scripture. I think people are very good at coming to Bible studies and talking and getting more in community with other people. But how many people, if you went around the churches today and said, tell me about the faith step. I
Right.
mean, the thing that you had to say, God, unless you come through, which is
Right.
a situation that
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
God, unless you come through, this isn't going to be. Where is that in the majority of the American Christians walk?
Yeah.
I have an opinion. I don't know if it's true, but I'd say it's very little.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very little people who have said, God calls me to something so big in my life that to be able to get that done is a faith step.
Right.
You know, and that we don't really talk about it either because we would celebrate, I think, inside of the Christian church, knowledge over faith.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
because that's what most people would celebrate. Wow, you came and you know more about the Bible and you understand
Yeah.
more about it and you're theologically more correct and you're
Yeah, you can answer all the questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're better behaved than you were in the past. And so weird because the church never, you know, really challenges people to say, but you understand being better behaved and theologically sound
Yeah.
is no different than a Pharisee.
Right.
Right.
Actually, it's exactly like a Pharisee.
Yeah.
So the problem is Jesus addressed the Pharisees and the church, never said to the sinner, you're going to hell, but to the Pharisee and the
Yeah.
Sadducee, the religious people who worked hard on getting to know the Bible and becoming better behaved. He said, you should fear hell.
Wow.
But you know what I'm saying? So I think
Yeah.
there's something missing inside of the church that would say, although very difficult, you know, inside of that, it's what we're those faith steps, you should not be abnormal. And I'm not saying from a foster care, I'm saying in anything.
Right.
Like all of us at some point in our life or in our journey should be like, I took this step and God had to come through, right? Instead of being like, yeah, I'm a Christian living by faith, but what? By what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? And what steps have you taken? And what has caused you to get to that place of faith? And I didn't know what you guys thought. I mean, when you look around, do you see the same thing? Do you feel the same way when it comes to like people living inside of the church that aren't taking great steps of faith where they would say, I'm better? And because I don't know about this, so maybe you can clear this up for me. I would much rather support you who's taking it, and that's okay. Like in God's eyes, I'm going to support the person who's taking the faith step, but I'm not going to take the faith step.
Them being the one.
I'm going to be the
Yeah.
one.
Oh, yeah.
You need a check. I'll write you a check. You need to be the one because I don't want to be the uncomfortable one. I don't want to take
wanna
the.
do that.
But I'll support the God called people.
But maybe that's the position that they're in.
But
Some
that's my
people,
question. That
you
was
know,
my question.
yeah.
So is that a step of faith? Is that does
Yeah.
that put them in a position of saying, or is it an eeasy way out?
It could be both. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then for them to see the need too
Uh-huh.
is big too.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people won't even see that there's a need there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were really surprised. And there again, we haven't been had foster kids for a long time because we've got to 3 now. But was really surprised and our eyes were opened up as to how big the need actually
Yeah.
Is.
was here in Huntington. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for
Which is
sure.
amazing.
I mean, must have had a lot of blinders on because a lot of stuff I was really naive about and a lot of stuff I was just ignorant about.
Why
you
do you
know?
think we are? Because I'm like the same way. Since I'm not in that like area, the foster care going in, like I didn't know it was that big of a need. I mean, I
Yeah,
hear
you
about
don't know.
it, but
They don't show it. They don't. I mean, it's not there in your face
Mm-hmm.
for you to see that this is what's going on. They kind of pull it back so people can't see that there's an issue.
which that's wrong.
It is. I mean, because there's so many of the kids that are out there that need
Like
this.
hundreds,
Oh yeah.
like in Huntington.
oh yeah.
I don't know about anymore.
Northeast Indiana, again, if I'm almost positive it's probably on the internet right now.
I'm sure.
And not in
Yeah.
a booklet, but you could go on Northeast Indiana right now and say, maybe just challenge people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that have had their parental rights terminated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So parental rights have been terminated. These kids are up for adoption. If you want to adopt them, they're adoptable. I'm
that's-
guessing that list is very
I'm
long.
sure.
And that's how we got the 3. The parental rights had been terminated and they were technically wards of the state.
Right.
Wow.
Well, and
You know.
the youngest one was 3 days old when we got her.
Yeah.
wow.
I got a call saying, "Hey, we have a 3-day-old. Would you want it?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
and they had her.
there again, a lot has to
Wow.
change from Tuesday to
Yeah.
Wednesday for that to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one day we had no crib, we had nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like sending out stuff. I'm like, I need all this stuff, people. Come on, I need help.
Yeah.
So
So
there
you're
you go.
like having to completely uproot your life in a moment.
So there again, our
And I
church
just-
family stepped in and really provided a lot of stuff and a lot of support, and a lot of that family still does. You know, we've had our one friends, Mike and Tara, have been, gosh, I don't know how long we've been friends with them, but whenever we'd have trouble with Abby, which Abby was more than difficult. I mean, there was
Wow.
really bad times.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But they were really helpful walking us through it. They had the same, they done foster care for a long time and had the same issues, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 years. We've known them 18 years.
So it wasn't a Gary and Karen show.
Yeah, no.
It was a lot. There was a big,
Right.
Right, for sure.
You
But
know.
let's throw this. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was just going to say with Abby, there were so many people, even at school, that I had trouble with the school system. And I just went to church and said, pray for this. I need someone to walk with me because I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
I had a lady come out and say, hey, I want to help you.
Right.
And they went into the school system and helped me with her and got to get her where she's at today.
yeah, it worked out real well.
Yeah. So think about it. So your question was, how do people not know?
Yeah.
Right. So so let's talk about my belief or theology.
Okay.
Right. So God tells us to pray to have eyes and a heart like his.
Yes.
Okay. So does somebody really need to put it in front of you? Or is God going to lay it on your heart? Because that's what he said he would do, right? Like
True.
he says, if you pray for his eyes
Yeah.
and his heart, again, this is the thing that I just get this big disconnect from, because I just can't imagine if you really want his eyes and his heart for whatever it is, whether it's foster care, whether it's widows, whether it's drug addiction, whatever those things are,
Right.
if you ask for those eyes and that heart, knowing the way that God made you and wired you, why wouldn't he be like, I'm going to lay something on your heart? And when you do, when you get that, it's going to be like, I'm going to go find out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go look.
Yeah.
I'm going to go figure out. I just don't think, this is personal, I don't think very many Christian people are praying for the eyes and the heart of God. I think they're praying to have a better life.
Yes. Yep.
Stop
finances.
sinning.
Yeah.
And get to know more about the Bible. A
Right.
very selfish view. And I don't think it's their fault. It's all they've been taught. All
Exactly.
they've been taught when
Yeah.
you go to church
Yeah.
is get your life right and stop sinning and stop doing. And I'm always the opposite. Like, I'm like, here would be my suggestion. Start serving, start doing, and start looking. And the rest of that crap, I mean, it works
take
its
care of
way
itself.
out. I mean,
Yeah.
it just works its way out. Over time,
Yep.
you're going to become better. You're going to, but you're going to do it because you now have the heart of God, not because you're trying to follow the rules. Anybody that tries to follow the rules loses anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
absolutely.
how I was before we came to Life Church. I mean, I did all the Bible studies. I did all, anything I could do to get into the Word.
Yeah.
But then I felt like I still wasn't doing what I needed to do. And it was hard to figure out where do I need to be? Because I was a stay-at-home mom for over 30 years.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, where do I need to fit into the world?
Right.
And I just felt I fall short of remembering the Bible verses and, how can I
Yeah, I'm not
teach
good at
people?
remembering.
How can I reach people? But then after you said that from the pulpit, I was like, I'm doing it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I am doing it.
Yeah,
I don't
for
need
sure.
to know all that. I
No.
am reaching people. I am talking to them.
You are the Word
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
flesh.
Yeah.
Right. So when Jesus was the Word that became flesh to all of the people then. So if you didn't really understand who God was, so this is the disconnect in the world today, right? So back then you had people who were trying to get to know who God was. So the Greeks, right? The
Yeah.
Greeks had no idea because they had served multiple gods. The Greeks needed to know who God was. They couldn't understand it. Jesus said, I am, right? The Word become like, if you want to know God in flesh, spend time with me.
Yeah.
And when you spend time with me, you'll get to know God. Well, Jesus essentially is saying the same thing. So people today still have the same struggle. I don't know who Jesus is. I don't really understand. I don't get the whole aspect of it all. You guys say he's a savior. You guys say all of these things. Because I always am looking at, like, my passion has always been and will always be the truly unchurched people. Like, do we get their perspective? Because too many times we organize around what it takes for a churched person to get re-churched again.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it does.
you take a churched person who's been out of church for a while and we're like, we want to try to get you reconnected. Nothing wrong with that, right?
No.
Nothing wrong with trying to get a churched person reconnected with the church. But the language and the way and the things that you do with a re-churching a person is so much different
Absolutely.
than those who have been unchurched, because
Yeah.
none of that programmatic things that you've done in the past works.
No.
Right.
Like they don't get any of that.
Yeah.
They don't understand any of that. What they get is watching you
Yes.
guys be Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
sharing your stories.
That makes complete sense to me. Like I get that.
Yeah.
Like now when you're talking about Jesus, if you're saying that, that makes complete sense to me now that
Yeah.
that's who Jesus is. That's what Jesus does.
And I really think that's what the Lord led us through there at College Park, because when we started there, I mean, I didn't know anything about how to be a godly father. I didn't grow up in a church.
Right.
And, I prayed, Lord, I want to try and be this godly man to lead my family at whatever that looks
Right.
like. And where I think a lot of it, where he showed us was that at that point they were starting small groups. So we got to go to these people's houses, these groups' houses, and read scripture and share a little bit about our lives and see that, and then pray for their struggles and ours. So it became then the faith that I was seeing on Sunday, it became real.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Because you're watching it happen in
Yeah.
somebody else's life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's just the power of where the unchurched is looking today isn't necessarily to the church.
Right.
Right.
The unchurched, like it's a difference. Like people who are churched are trying to find a church. People who are unchurched are trying to find Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a significant difference in the way that people are searching. And so I've always said, as a church, be careful that you don't organize yourself around people trying to find a church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Organize yourself around people trying to find Jesus.
Right.
Because that's what our calling is. I mean, we want to help people who are looking for a church because they then can be a part of helping the people who are looking for Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Like as long as those two things go together is that we're teaching people like, yeah, I hope this church can help you be Jesus to a world who's looking for him, like
Right.
equipping people, getting people in those positions, because that's what I think people are looking for today. They're trying to understand how to put it into practice. And I have no idea how to put it into practice, or I don't know how to do it because it's been foreign.
Yes.
And again, not even saying that this is exactly the way it goes, but the model of what Christians have sometimes showed to the world is not Jesus.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's part of, and I'm not,
I think a lot of the time.
that's a blanket statement. I know that there are people that are,
Yeah.
but
Well, right.
But
Right.
there's more that's not.
Yes.
I don't think that they're giving a good representation of who Jesus is,
Yeah.
and the conversations that they're having usually don't go that much with who the Savior is.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
That turns the unchurched away completely.
Yeah. Because you've
Completely.
been in that boat.
Yes.
Right? Like you've seen it from that side of it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, I got off subject. Sorry. I just wanted to hear
Tangent.
what you guys had to say because again, that is a huge
Yeah,
face
it
step.
is.
Oh, it is.
It's
Yeah.
life altering when you take in,
Yeah.
kids and again, nobody's going to glamorize taking children in.
No.
Anybody that's been a part of that journey understands that everybody from the outside can tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, but until you live
Amen.
until you live it, till you've been through it, I hear you. But I mean, till you've done it, I don't know what to say.
'Cause
Yeah.
they have a lot more baggage than what
Exactly.
you ever would
Yeah.
think that a
It's messy.
3-year-old would come with.
No, yeah.
Right.
And there's so much baggage. And I looked at people with kids before and thought earlier on,
No, I know.
oh my gosh, just take care of that kid,
I think we all have.
But
at
now
some
I'm
point.
like, oh, honey, I'm with you. I know how it is,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what it's like because
Yeah.
everybody has this perfect opinion on how things should go.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And they just don't have any idea. Back to, being Jesus to these people, loving them through their trauma, loving them through their difficult situations, loving them, not giving up on them, which is what most of them expect.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
And
I think
go
most,
through.
most of them
Like
expect.
the ones that do graduate or grow out of it, it's like
Age out,
they're
yeah.
going out into the world with all that trauma where they didn't get the love that they got when they were in a home with two parents. And they're going out into the world and they're probably the ones committing crimes and all these things. And it's like, I feel like if we would help children at that age, like if we were more to adopt like everybody, it would save a lot. Like it would.
If you think about when at that age, when they age out, that's when, I mean, your job as a parent, or at least it seems like our job as a parent has never really went away. I mean, we've shifted roles.
Right.
But when the girls stepped out, from the house to college or to whatever their next destination was, it wasn't like they
You stop being a parent.
Yeah, they still need you.
So I always felt bad for the kids that did age out in foster care, because here they
don't have anybody.
There's no one with support, and honestly, that's how it came about Emma. Because I think the little girl that had her I know she didn't have a whole lot of support.
Yeah.
So she didn't know how to be a mama at that time.
Right.
So what do I do here?
Right.
Right. Yeah, because go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
Oh,
I keep interrupting you, right? When
do.
you're ready to say, I know. I learned this by listening to the podcast. I need to shut up more.
Yeah, you do sometimes.
I do. I'm like, gosh, just be quiet. People want to hear from the important people, not me.
Yes,
I
our
don't know about
guests.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I've tried to teach my kids that you need to do and treat people like Jesus would.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I live my life is, that person doesn't have no shoes. Do you need help? You have to be that person for, for Jesus, because that's just how it has to be. But with Emma, she was 3 days old and I got her and I knew who the mom was. And I walked into the first meeting and she's like, man, I feel bad for trying to fight for her. And I'm like, no, I'm just here to watch her until you can take her.
You.
Wow.
But then it got to the point at 8 months old, if you guys will keep her, we'll sign off.
So she felt bad for like fighting, like for bringing her, for her, like taking her back or something.
Yeah, she felt bad for fighting for her because she said, if I'd have known it was you guys that ended up with her. And I'm like, no. So that gave me the first thing that, maybe she's not ready to be a mom.
Yeah.
So we offered to help to work even with her outside of foster care. Like, we'll help you with Emma, but I imagine at that point, I mean, she didn't know us, and we were only time we'd seen her in the past was one of our other daughters had her over years ago. They were in class together and came over. But
so how did it go? Because this was the big question for a lot of people in our family was, what effect did it have on your own kids? That was always this big question for our family, was like, oh my gosh, you're taking all these kids who have had pre-existing problems and bring problems into your home. And I've always told my story, of what my kids say back to that. But what's your perspective from your kids? Maybe.
It would depend which one you have.
Okay. You don't have to share. I mean,
the one daughter will say, well, it took my childhood away. Now I'm not the only one. I'm not the baby no more.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Okay, I get that. The other ones don't see it that way. They look at them as they're the older sisters now.
Right.
Right.
And our one daughter really wants to do foster once she can. She works thirds now, so she can't. But she would like to do that eventually too. Right. So to help out.
Yeah, because we always said, like, you know how hard it is for children to understand faith, because even as adults, we barely understand faith. But when you do that, your kids learn really fast what faith is by the example that you gave. And they learn sacrifice that you can't teach. You can't teach it. You can say what you want, like, you need to serve other kids and you need to do, but until you share a bed with them, until you give up your bed and sleep on the floor, until you, like, it's just hard to teach. Be selfless and think of other kids, and until those situations happen. So, I mean, for my own kids, I think they would have lots of opinions, but I think at the end of the day, they would say that was another marker of where I saw faith.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
how it works now in my life. Like I hear you saying you made a faith step, but now I had to make a decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Like how does my faith now activate when you're saying, you know, for us, 3 sets of twins, you know what I mean? Because we took in the 5, but it was Brady and Corbin same age.
Yeah.
Lexi and Allie were the same
Which
age.
is amazing.
Oh, that's a lot.
You know, and so then Abby was in between. Bailey and Isaac were the same age. And then Jeremy. So it's like having 3 sets of twins, you know, in the midst of all of that. And so a lot goes into that because now you are sharing everything that happens in those times and in that grade. And it wasn't, you know, and they were all older, 16 down to 10. I mean, I can't remember exactly what the ages were, but I think 16 down to 10, you know. But either way, I just didn't know, like, as your kids, because sometimes it might come later on as your kids reflect back on your life and the things that you've done.
Yeah.
Well, and ours were spread out too, because our kids are 4 years apart, all but the last 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then Grace was what? I don't remember how old she was. She might have been 5 when we started fostering.
Oh, okay.
So they were a little bit older, and then the other were younger.
Okay.
We took one teenager in, and that was like never again.
She was like,
Really?
no, she was like,
She's a good girl.
Yeah.
she was a good girl, but she couldn't be, she was a 12 or 13-year-old girl that showed up with a kid, you know, and gosh, we couldn't help her.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, she needed to be in a place that didn't have so many other girls around, and
She needed individual attention.
Right.
she didn't need to be around at that time. She didn't know how to relate to guys, so she didn't need to be around any guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
So I mean,
Which is sad. Who's taking care of, like, not saying you guys, but like who will step in and do that? Like, was she just going to age out? Especially being a teenager, is she just going to age out and then like carry all those problems? Like, that's what I don't understand.
I think she ended up like at White's. And
that's the last place we've seen her.
Yeah, like we're just.
And again, I don't want to, like, this isn't to blame anybody.
Right.
No.
Right.
Here's all I've said is that we have to be careful, because this is what I'm always challenging the church to think outside of the box.
Oh, yeah.
So inside of the box, we focus a lot on taking families that come with normal children.
Yeah.
Normal children.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're not equipped. Churches aren't very well equipped for
special needs.
I don't even know what the word, I say not normal, special, whatever that is. We're usually not equipped to handle it, you know, and we focus all of our ministries around 2-parent homes, single-parent homes with normal children.
Yeah.
And I just keep saying, as a church, how are we not thinking outside of the box? Because just think about this. The majority of those children that are in those situations don't know Jesus.
Right. Oh,
And
absolutely.
have no ability to know Jesus.
Right.
Could be the greatest evangelism tool a church could ever do. Because we already know this. Most kids make a decision for Jesus before the age of 16.
They're set for life.
So this is like fertile soil, but the church has no idea how to fix it.
That's
or
interesting.
no idea what to do with it. And I've been praying about this for 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Because I just say, like, somehow God's got to raise up something inside of it, because I don't know what the answer is other than go to the model that we had in Guatemala, which was you create these compounds, you bring in house parents, compounds. That's a bad way to say it. It had to be a walled place because of people coming in wanting to hurt the children.
Right.
You know, because it's a market, because they knew Americans will adopt them.
Yeah.
So they would come in to steal them and sell them. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, so there was a walled place, but on there you have house parents. The houses were provided for you. Everything was done right there. And you bring in these lots of kids with house parents, and you would have 12 kids, and you would raise these kids up amongst your children, and you just keep getting them done.
Wow.
That was the model in Guatemala. That's why it was called the House of Hope, because they'd create these places.
That's
and then
neat.
the house
That is
on
awesome.
this place, it had 5 houses. House parents from America would come there. Then they changed it to Guatemalan parents. And then on the place had a school, had a medical facility, had a place where you could work on vehicles, had all of this stuff there to be able to do it. And again, I can't remember the name, but that before we went to plant a church, that's what we were going to do, because they tried to do it in Brown County. So down in
Oh.
Brown County, this guy had this vision. He got this land. He was going to
Yeah,
build these
that would
houses.
be
He bring in
great.
these
What a blessing.
housebound parents. Couldn't get it funded.
Really?
Nobody
So
wants
that's
to
what
help.
stopped him?
That's my point. So I just can't
Yeah.
understand when the church looks at being missional.
yeah.
Like, how could you look at that and say, not a very good idea? Like, I just don't understand it.
just-
And maybe it's because I'll just keep praying, keep asking God to open doors, because I just can't imagine that can be ignored.
Mhm.
Well, and all the people that we need to reach that have the kids even with special needs.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Because the parents aren't getting church or they're not getting the community because they're dealing with the
Yeah.
child.
I don't want to take my unruly kid in here because
Yeah.
No, for
yeah.
sure.
How are
know.
they going to think if I
Right.
bring
You know
my
what I mean.
kid into this place?
Right. Which I think is cool because Heather has started that buddy system inside of the children's
Mhm.
ministry here at Life,
I'm a
creating
buddy.
an opportunity. You're one of the buddies?
Yeah, I think that's neat.
So I think that's awesome that we've at least started
Yeah.
Mhm.
to try to figure out how to address something outside of the normal,
Mhm.
right? To be able to do
you know,
it.
and for the church to have that wrong, to not, for there to even be a child that's in need. I remember this was years ago. There was a missionary that came and spoke at one of the churches, and they were translating the Bible over there to this indigenous tribe.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest words that they had trouble defining was an orphan, a kid without a parent,
Mhm.
because in their culture,
They don't have that.
There's no
that
such
was
thing.
that was
You take
no
the
such
child.
thing.
Oh my
Somebody
gosh.
always took care of the child.
right.
So for them to come up with that word,
They couldn't even like
There
think of
was-
it. Wow.
Right.
See, that's amazing.
you know, and I'm thinking, well, they're living out with sticks and they got
exactly.
it right,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah. Nobody would leave a child.
you know.
You know, when you think about it, like really think about it, it's really messed up.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. So do you remember when like all the stuff was going around early this year about like abortion and how
Yes.
the Roe v. Wade or whatever the heck it's
Oh,
called?
mhm.
So a lot of like the unchurched people, which most of the unchurched people are on the side of that they don't want or that they did want abortions. Yeah. And I remember like reading or hearing somebody saying, because it was like us as Republicans or as church people, we don't want abortions because we don't want to kill all these innocent babies.
Right.
And they're saying, well, you're letting the other side is saying, well, you're letting these babies grow up and you're not even adopting them out. So it's like, they're like calling on the church. So it's amazing that the unchurched people notice that and see that, but we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's,
Yeah. And again, I don't know what the answer is, but I do know this. I do know that I think as a whole, the church has to have, and when I say revival, the revival in the standpoint of we have to become a people who have the eyes and the heart of God.
Yeah.
I don't
Definitely.
care what programs end up happening. Like
Right.
at the end of the day, programs will just be programs. We just have to get to the place where we're challenging people that are walking inside of these doors. That if we're reading the same scripture, then our eyes and hearts
Yeah.
have to change. Radical things have to happen, in my opinion,
Yes.
Oh,
to
yeah.
see the gospel spread. We just can't keep doing things as we've been doing them. Like, I just don't know that that's the
No.
answer.
And there's so many kids out there, even that are in houses that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Oh, no, for
That,
sure.
that it's just
Because people are doing fostering for money.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
and not just that, the homes aren't fit for them to be in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
I know, right? It's not much money. Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's not, if you're doing it for
Yeah.
money, you're going to go broke because
Yeah.
there's not enough
Well,
money.
no, there are people that do that.
you know.
they do, I heard that, but I'm like, you wouldn't do foster
Probably-
for money.
Yeah.
You
Well,
wouldn't do
they're
those
probably
things.
not taking care of the kids like you guys are.
Yeah.
So-
They don't have because I mean, even with just the 3 we had, I mean, with
How I couldn't imagine.
doctor visits, Bowen Center workers, Bowen Center, clients, and just, I mean, it's just
not to mention
overwhelming.
the food budget.
And
Yeah.
the food
Oh, I
budget.
know.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. You can't believe the amount of food.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
And it's just getting worse.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But I would be one that would take in 100 kids
Yeah. Me too.
in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she collects them like
I
stray
collect
cats.
them like
Yeah. Yeah. But I just,
I love that,
again,
though.
I mean, without like belaboring the
Yeah.
point, because kids is just what we're bringing
Yeah.
up today to me is just bringing up what has become epidemic inside of
Yeah.
the church.
Yeah,
yeah.
there should be no kid left
left.
Right.
without a need. I mean, no child should ever go hungry or
No.
go cold
Right.
or feel unloved.
Right. Or feel alone or
Yeah,
feel
or not
like,
protected.
yeah.
You know, that should never happen.
Right. Yeah. And so, but
You know?
what it brings up is, to me, what is wrong at the center of Christianity or church. I don't even know which one to call it,
Uh-huh.
but there's an epidemic problem inside of that, which is if we look at what's the best way to spend our time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or what is God wanting us to do? We're missing something because it's at this level because we've allowed ourselves to believe in a Christianity that's not biblical.
Right. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
which is one that would be unselfish,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that would give ourselves to other people, that would be a part of whatever the least of these is.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you have to be foster parents, but
No.
there should not be, I'm going to say this in the right way possible.
Just say
There
it.
should not be a need for government systems if the church did
Yeah.
its job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many churches. Like, if you really think about it, we could do so, like, there wouldn't be a child.
No, there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, not even just a child, but a
Right,
widow
homeless,
or,
like-
or a homeless
Yeah.
person.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. So what the problem is that we love faith as long as it costs you nothing.
Right.
Well,
We
you're
love
not
the
gonna
idea
stop.
of it.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable
Well,
with
I'm
it.
comfortable. So maybe that's there you
The
go. So maybe
comfort.
that's
You know.
the epidemic problem in the church
Comfort.
is that somehow we have created an environment where people believe that being comfortable is the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right? Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better word or better way to say
Yeah,
it
I
is,
think
is-
so.
and that we are okay. Because I think God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit are screaming when he sees a church full of people who are comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's like, this is so wrong. This is so
Like, it's against
like,
everything
this
that I
is
wanted.
not the way that it's supposed
Yeah,
to go. Because
yeah.
when you're comfortable, do you need me?
No.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have got to just continue, and that's all we can do is continue to pray
Mm-hmm.
that God intervenes in a way in all of our hearts to whatever it is. If it's not foster care, it's something.
Yeah.
There has to be something out there that's going to break this bubble of comfort.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of
know.
things that could break it.
Yeah.
Like, for them to open their eyes.
Right. And that's why we've always prayed the Sir Francis Drake prayer,
Mm-hmm.
the
Which
disturb
is,
us, Lord.
what is it?
Disturb us, Lord. Have you ever seen?
No, I've never
No.
heard.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So
Do
essentially,
you know it by heart?
huh?
Do you know it by heart?
No, but I know the emphasis
Okay.
of it, which is essentially because, again, this is something that I pray in my journal every day, which
Mhm.
was because I think it's very easy just to become comfortable.
Oh,
So
yeah.
essentially, in the disturb us, Lord, he says, you know, again, disturb us, Lord, when we have sailed so close to the shore that we can no longer need you, or you know,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we've presented ourselves to be so comfortable that essentially we've pushed
Yeah.
you out of the way. So the disturb us, Lord prayer is to say, put me out in the sea so far that the only thing that I can rely on is you. Put me
Yeah.
in situations that are so far disturb my life. Like I pray this all the time, disturb it,
Mm-hmm.
wreck it, make it whatever you need, because complacency and comfort is of Satan. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if you're at a place of, you know, comfort and complacency, then we've missed the calling of God. So that Sir Francis Drake prayer is just to remind you every single day,
Mm-hmm.
wake up with this idea, Lord, if I'm getting caught, because I can get, who doesn't get caught
It's nice to
in
be
wanting
comfortable.
life
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
somewhat normal?
Well, that's what society, I mean, culture is, to be comfortable. That's
Yes.
everything that it teaches us.
right. And
It's normal.
There are times when
Yeah.
you've lived in chaos your whole life that you're like, hey, can just like a day or two, one, just a
settle down.
moment. Yeah, just a moment. Can it be somewhat
need some
normal?
peace.
You know, but at the end of the day, I think if you open yourself up to that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that God will disturb you. You know, when you get too close to the shore and he wants you out, when you get to the places where you don't need him anymore, I think if you're open to it, I think he'll really, you know, put you in that place and allow you to be there. And that's essentially what you guys
Yeah.
were at, right? Like your life was completely disturbed
Oh yeah.
Yes.
in the way that you did everything.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, didn't know it full well going into it how disturbed it was going to be.
Some days a little more than others.
Yeah, so how much of, because if you can believe this, we only have 10 minutes left.
Whoa.
So if you can believe this, tell me how much of your upbringing of faith played into where you are today. Did you both grow up with like watching these things happen? Like, was it a big part of your life? Was faith a part of your journey when you were kids?
No, I didn't really grow up in a church home. My aunt took me for a couple times, and I did get baptized then, but no, I didn't grow up in a church. I grew up down in the hills of Kentucky. It was for a boy, that was a really good place to grow up.
Oh,
I mean, there's nothing
running around barefoot all over to the woods.
And no, I wore shoes. If you had shoes, you wore them.
You were the barefoot one?
Yeah, so you were from Kentucky.
Yes.
They both are.
No.
No? I'm
from
sorry.
Andrews.
Just kidding.
It's just like the Indiana version of Kentucky.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Very much so, yes.
Isn't that right, Nick?
Yeah.
So you grew up, so what was the pivotal point of your faith? Like, when did it become real? Where did it?
It became real at College Park.
Okay.
It came real when I badgered him to go to church.
Okay, so when you guys got married, where were you at?
Yeah.
So, like, did you grow up?
My dad believed if he could go to, he believed in Christ, but he didn't believe he had to go to church to do it.
Okay.
And he always lived the same way I do of helping others.
So you saw that
I saw that, growing up. And he was retired because he had a heart condition. So when I was 5, so he walked with me the whole time with stuff. And I went to church with the neighbor lady. I would go over and she'd take me to church and everything. But it wasn't anything that was beat in our head. It was nothing done.
Yeah.
So.
And then you became like, when did faith become real for you?
When I was a teenager,
Okay.
I accepted God and got baptized and everything, but then I kind of shied away.
Okay.
After I was probably about 18, I ended up getting pregnant and lost a baby, and it was I didn't care for about 3 or 4 years of how my life was going to be.
Yeah.
And we had met when I was 15. So
really?
That was back.
Yeah, I was doing dishes at a restaurant. We moved up here from Kentucky. There was 5 of us living in a 1-bedroom cottage.
Wow.
There, and I had a job doing dishes at a little restaurant called Donna D's. In fact, we still call her today. She was a very sweet lady. And I just met Karen there.
Because my friend's mom they had bought the restaurant.
Okay.
And I went up to stay the week with him and met him.
Wow.
And then we started dating and for about a year or two. And then he wanted to go in the service and I felt that he wouldn't do it with being together. So we broke up. And
you went in the service?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was in there from 89 to 93.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
And so then when you got back, that's when you guys met?
Yeah, it's when I got married. Yeah.
Yeah, he come back in June and we were married in November.
Wow.
And so at that point, was faith important, not important?
Not important.
Neither one of you?
No, it wasn't. Faith really didn't become important or real until I started going to College Park.
How'd you end up in the church then?
Well,
Karen kept badgering me.
Well, I know. How'd she end up in the church?
Well, no, I would say, I heard, because you said you let him go.
I let
So
him.
he would go to the.
Because I knew he wouldn't go to the service
Right.
unless I let him go because he wanted to be with me and I knew,
He wouldn't go.
Yeah.
it just wasn't going to work out. So, and then I ended up getting with the wrong crowd and I got pregnant and lost it.
Uh-huh.
And then I didn't care for my life for like 3 years. It was like I could have cared less. I drank. I didn't care what happened to life. And then I got pregnant again. And then it was like God was telling me, wake up.
Yeah.
You've got to wake up. You don't want to lose this one. So I moved back home. My dad helped me buy a house so I could put a daycare in it. So I had a living for me and Jesse. And so I started the daycare and she was about 1.5 years old. And I had went to Webster looking for him because I heard he was home.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't find him. So me and my girlfriend came back home. And then I think it was like a week or two later, he calls and he said, I just wanted to call and tell you I still love you.
Oh my gosh. So when you broke it off, were you kind of expecting or hoping like deep down that it would work out later?
Oh, yeah.
So that was an act of faith.
That's like a storybook.
Yeah, I
right
know
there.
it is.
Oh,
But you know what I mean? Like that's an act of faith. Like maybe it wasn't like relied in God,
No,
but like
for
you
sure.
still
Yeah.
foresaw that like happening.
Yeah. So you guys get back together, get married.
That's been 29 years ago.
Yeah, and so
Wow.
you ended up in College Park, or ended up in church?
We were going to Andrews, to the Brethren Church. We had started going there.
And that was, I liked it there because there was like maybe 10 people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
He doesn't like a lot of
talking about being comfortable.
Yeah.
Because that's your
Right.
comfort.
So,
can sit
but
back
again, what prompted getting back in church?
Well, I just knew that we needed to get back in,
Okay,
in
so
touch.
it was just this like inkling that says, you know what,
We
I
need-
don't
we
know
need
anything, but
something.
we got to get back.
We need something.
You're missing
So you
something.
get back into the church, but you're saying real change happened.
Yeah, because I was teaching our kids
Okay.
and stuff, and so I had known this guy at the hospital, Jeff Sells, that had his leg cut off, amputated. And every time I seen him, he kept badgering me. You need to take those kids to church. I'm like, I know. No, you need to bring them to church. So finally, I took them to Wednesday night church.
Okay.
Me and the girls started going. We loved it. And after about a month or two, I told him, I said, I think I'm going to go to church over here. Well, you can go. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So then every week I'd get up, me and the kids would get ready for church. I'm like, are you going to church? Nope. I'm like, okay. But every week I'd ask him.
Yeah,
I just
for
kept
sure.
asking him every week. And finally he goes, fine, I'll go.
Yeah.
But don't ask me again.
Right.
And 18 years later, I had never had to ask him again because he was.
Yeah,
That's
and,
amazing.
But what the turning point was, I think, well, I know what it was when I realized that if I wanted Karen and my kids to believe in this faith, that they had to see me doing it. And
Yeah.
that's when I prayed to, remember I said earlier in the thing that I prayed to the Lord. I don't know how to lead a godly family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I'm asking you to show me how.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he sent someone and said, Gary, these are the rules.
Yeah. These are the rules.
That would be
follow
really
the
nice.
rules.
Really
No.
nice.
Yeah.
No, he put a lot of people in our lives to guide us along, and
Right.
gosh, we've failed so many times it ain't funny.
But we had those people that, that's wrong.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure.
You know,
Yeah. Failure's only not trying. There's
But
no
that's-
such thing as failure.
that's when
Yeah.
our faith became real to us.
Yeah.
I realized if I wanted my family to believe this, then they were going to have to see me doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we could
I was
all
gonna have to
learn.
lead.
Yeah,
You know
learn
what I
some
mean?
things from that. One being that the prayer of a persistent wife,
Yeah.
Yeah,
who will go down the road and not give up on her husband.
Yep.
Because that's your situation is no different than so many
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
young
Oh, yeah.
families of dads that are disconnected,
Mm-hmm.
not really going, moms that have, like, what do we do? But you didn't give up,
Mm-hmm.
and I
No.
think that is a testament of, because of your walk of faith, right? Because you chose to go, even though your husband wouldn't be there, and just asking, not nagging, which is way
Mhm.
different. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a difference in that because of that act of obedience, that God did something in your heart,
Yeah.
and changes some of those things. And I think the other lesson that we can learn is that for a man, you don't have to have it all right. You just have to have a commitment to say, you know what, it's my job.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's my job to be the leader.
To admit it.
I have no idea what I'm doing. No one ever taught me. But at the end of the day, if I at least accept responsibility, that's all I ask men to do.
Yeah.
Just start with accepting the responsibility,
We're going to
right?
be held accountable when we stand in front of Christ.
Yeah.
Whether you admit it or not,
Yeah.
you're
Mhm.
responsible for it.
Right. Yeah. So
You know?
so you did it. You did what I would encourage most men to do. Just start with accepting it. Not I can't and I never will be and there's no way I can do it and she knows way more. And
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it starts with an acceptance of responsibility. Then this is the other thing that we can learn. And because of community, it took people who were willing
Yeah.
Yes.
and moved them over the edge.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that's why we've always preached community. You can't replace it. I don't care what anybody says. You can't replace what it means to be in the life of somebody else.
No.
No. And there's where the small groups, you got to see
Right.
faith that was real,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
And you
Yeah.
got to walk alongside other people that were doing it and having just as much trouble as you.
No, for
Because you
sure.
don't realize that.
Yes.
You
I'm
think
the only
we're
one
the
that
only
has
ones
this
having
problem.
this
Yes.
trouble.
I know.
Yeah.
But then you actually see somebody that you think has it really together, and it's like,
And they don't.
wow, they're
Yeah,
having
they're
this the
just
same
like
trouble.
us.
Yeah.
They're just as messed up as I am.
Yeah.
Which is amazing that we continue to think that of others people, but then continue to
Yeah.
be shocked that they are just like us.
Yeah. So questions. 'cause
Question time.
Yep. We're an hour in. So
Wow. That went by like real fast.
no, we keep doing this. Like people are gonna have to be returning guests because
I
we never
know.
really even got off the first subject.
Yeah, we have a couple returning guests actually on the schedule. All right, hold on. Wrong texting group thing. Well, I
This was
screen.
my dog texting group. Yeah, so,
No, I screenshotted them because it is going to help me. Okay. All right, Karen Bennett.
Yeah.
Longtime friend. How do they stay sane with 7 daughters? LOL.
yeah, do you guys get a respite? Do you guys get away? Do you want to get away? Like, what does keep you
The older
going?
ones will take them sometimes. They're like, well, like last year we went away for a week.
Yeah.
So I think Jesse kept some. My mom probably kept Emma. But yeah, no, the older ones really
Yeah.
step in.
And has that helped? Is getting away a good thing?
Oh, it's a very good thing. It's just we need to do it more often, but it's hard to get into the swing of everything. And then your life, it's like, oh wait, it's Christmas time.
I always feel guilty.
Yes.
I
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he
I
doesn't.
can
Like,
only go a couple of days without him. Then I'm out.
Oh, really?
No, I don't like being away.
Really?
Okay.
well, they don't like it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I mean, even Jesse, our oldest one. I mean,
Really?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
because we do everything together with them.
Yeah.
Right.
They're over 2, 3, 4 nights a week for supper.
Which I love that.
Yeah,
That's
it's a good
amazing.
thing. We really enjoy that. We try to be a
I think that's how it should be.
big family. That's what the Lord blessed us with. So that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Awesome.
that family dinner nights
Yeah.
on the week.
It's not
Yeah.
like it's scheduled. They just kind of
No, right.
they just come
They
in.
just kind of show up.
They're there.
I just make enough, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
They
they
just
show,
stay.
They take turns making too. Sometimes.
like Jesse made last night.
Like they
Yeah.
want to hang
You
out
know.
with you guys though
Yeah.
in the family. That's
Yeah.
what's cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sad to think that some people wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
And we did fishing this last summer. Every Saturday, almost
Yeah,
of
the
the summer,
boys.
we all
Yeah, it
went
was done good.
fishing.
Oh, really?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh,
We
that's
had a blast.
awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
All right, Emily Krieger. First of all, I love Bella. She's just the sweetest. She's in my middle school youth group, and I love when I get to connect with her. So thank you so much for raising such an awesome daughter. That's not going to work. Well, I'm having a hard time seeing it.
It's okay. It's okay. You're doing great,
Second,
Jenny.
thank you. Second, how did the conversation start about having foster kids and then ultimately adopting? Which I think we
pretty much
covered
got
that.
that
Yeah.
one. Yep.
How do you recover once you have a child that isn't working out with your family or the opposite spectrum? How do you recover when you have a child that returns to the parents who fit with your family?
We actually had the one that went back. She's actually goes to church here.
Yeah.
And it was well, her dad was he's an awesome man. He does great. His name's
Yeah.
Gary too. But
She still calls me mom.
yeah, I mean it was that situation worked out perfect for Shauna, and that's the way it should. I mean, that to me that's the way foster care is supposed to be designed. Okay, the mommy and daddy are having some type of issue
Right.
that they need to focus on themselves. Okay, now and intentionally that's how we got into it. That premise or the thought that well, we'll watch your kids
And then you can come back.
while the state, whatever you got to do takes care of it. Then when you're ready, we get them back, and that's the way it worked for Shauna, and it's been great. We love her to death. We still see her
Yeah.
quite often.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and we, while he was working seconds, I kept her overnight so that way, he could work and sleep, and then he'd get her in the morning, and we just, the transition was easy. and
Yeah.
But
That
it's
way
not
she-
always been like that.
No.
Right.
Some of it it's not fun.
Yeah, and I think I think that's a lot of people's fear. It would have been
Yes.
our fear. Like our fear was
Having to send them
having
back.
to send them back.
Yes.
You know, so I
a-
think it takes God has to do something special to your heart where you see it like what he said.
Yeah.
Like I'm here for a time, and I'm go ahead and give them back to the parents who then mess it up again, and you get them back,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a special heart. And I think God does that. Like, I think he prepares you for those things.
But you also need to know when you can't fix them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
I like to let
When
go.
When somebody
We
else
let-
can.
And,
let
if
go.
they need
Yeah,
to be
for
somewhere
sure.
else.
Yeah.
Which is hard to deal with because I want to fix them.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I want to take care of them. I want them to know that they're loved.
Mm-hmm.
But to give them the ability to find somebody else that can take care of them.
Yeah, for sure. Knowing enough that this situation isn't going to be it.
Right.
Yeah, good.
All right, next question from Emily Miller. With it being upwards of $10,000 to adopt a single child in the USA, how could somebody help with fostering adoption epidemic if you didn't have sufficient funds? Are there places to volunteer or locations to give things away to children in need?
It
That was the
didn't.
second
It doesn't
question.
cost
It
that
didn't
much
cost
through
us
foster
anything.
care.
It doesn't?
Doesn't cost anything through
at
foster
that
care.
time it didn't cost us anything because if when they become wards of the state, that's what they are. The state owns them.
Wow.
So the difference in what she's talking about. So if you would go out and do a normal adoption,
Right.
today,
That would be
that's
10,000.
it's upwards of $10,000.
Yes.
For a new baby?
Anything.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
just to have a found or a, what's the word?
They-
The people, the
Fake
middleman.
case study. And
It's,
Yeah,
it's for all the paperwork they have to do, the lawyer that has to be involved.
all the background
Oh.
checks. They do a house study.
Yeah.
But most times, like that agencies only work with small children.
Right.
Like they very seldom are ever
Yeah.
working with
Yeah.
sibling groups of people. I mean, it's mostly the foster care system that's taking kids that are 3, 4,
Yeah.
you know, that
Mhm.
kind of a
10,
realm
yeah.
that are somewhere in that sibling group. Like you don't, you know, and so
Yeah.
yeah, that if you want to go in a different realm. But if you
Right.
want to go down the foster to adopt realm,
They don't.
I mean, you got to be licensed. So you got to
Yep.
go through the classes. You got to get case
And they paid
studies.
for
You're
all
water
that.
tested, which is
Background
always
checks.
the
Water
craziest.
testing?
Yeah, here's the craziest thing to me. So when we took in when we were going through foster care, right? So they got to make sure you have enough bedrooms. You got to have
Yep.
water. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, some of these kids are living out of an
Exactly.
Escalade. Some of these kids are living,
Exactly.
and it's okay with them.
How
and they
does
said,
that make sense?
absolutely, it's okay with them because it's mom and dad.
Yes.
Yep.
But when it's you have to meet a certain criteria.
Why? Why is that? Why do they make so many stipulations that are boundaries to people from helping? Like,
Trying to weed out the ones
My-
that don't want to.
My guess is so you don't go from the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know,
Maybe it's
but
just a way to, like you said, weed
yeah,
out.
that makes
You
sense.
know, but again, it's always and because we got a license, but we had the opportunity to put the kids into foster care because then you could get the stipend, which is next
Yeah.
to nothing, but it's still something,
Yeah.
you know, to help get it done. And that was my biggest thing is I just wanted to stay out of it because I thought some of that stuff was broke, you
It
know,
is.
and again, everything's broke, right?
Yes,
so
of
that's
course.
the
Right.
good parts
Utopia.
about it, some bad parts about it. But I would just encourage anybody that would say, hey, finance is an issue on fostering to adopt. They need to get hold of Life
DCS,
Church, Hands
yeah.
of Hope, people that are around, because I just can't imagine that that if finances are an issue and a kid's life's at stake, I can't
Right.
imagine
That being an
that
issue.
we wouldn't be a church and a people who would step up and stand in the gap. Like,
Right.
I just can't imagine that.
So her second question was volunteering. Is there any place to volunteer or drop off things for?
You can drop stuff off at like DCS and stuff. Because when you get these kids, a lot of times it's just a trash bag
Yeah.
or a Walmart, or even that. I mean, like with Emma, I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had a car seat and a pillowcase with a couple diapers and stuff from the hospital. That's all I had.
Wow.
But she didn't need much when you're 3 days
So are
old.
you guys involved at all with Hands of Hope?
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
You've never heard of it?
Isn't that the thing we go to down in?
No. That's
Nope,
Helping
it's
Hands.
here.
Helping Hands is what we have done a lot with down in Bluffton, but I've never heard
Yeah.
of that.
So what did I call it? Did I say it right?
No, you say Hands of Hope?
Yeah, here. So
Yeah.
there's a
I didn't know about it.
so Evie Blackburn started it, and now
It's Bree Sullivan.
yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
know that
So
much.
anyway, here's the idea. So the idea is that foster care parents get together, right? And so this was it was Evie's idea, and what we're trying to figure out is how to partner with her and now Bree.
Yeah.
Because the idea is these foster care parents get together. It's once a week, and then back then you
Once a
started to
month
do,
now.
Oh, is it?
I
Okay.
believe it's right? It's once a month?
Maybe it was always once a month. I'm going to get a lot of stuff wrong, but I think the
they meet.
premise is
They
right.
meet.
Yes.
You get together because you always have to have ongoing training. So if
Right.
you're going to be
Yes.
foster, so it meets your ongoing training criteria. The other thing is that there's childcare, so it helps with if you want to come and get together with other foster care parents.
Right.
The other thing is then there's teams of people, and I know there's some people here at the church that are on those teams that are respite teams.
Oh, okay.
So it's if you need a respite, these teams
Yeah.
are set up to take your kids, and so it's certain
What's a respite?
And that's a big need because
we've
we
used
had.
respite.
That's
What
a
is
word,
that?
right?
It's,
That's the
it's where you like say you're having trouble or you need a break,
you need a break.
and then
Need a
this person
babysitter.
can this person can
for-
take
Yeah.
your
That's my
kid
term
for
for it.
you.
Oh.
Yeah, so
So you
for
can
a
have a
night or for a day
Okay.
or two.
Got you.
And then it's also a place where people, if they wanted to give to, they give to the Hands of Hope, and Hands of Hope gives to the,
that's
the,
good.
the
Oh, that's awesome.
foster care
That's cool.
family. So maybe you should put this out there to give all the real information.
Right.
I know the gist of it is how to partner with, how churches can partner with, because the idea then would be, so the answer to the question before is like, how can we help foster care families? Hands of Hope. That's what Evie was trying to get done, because
Yeah.
then the church could provide funds into
Right.
this, and they could provide, which I had
Support,
heard was the biggest thing, is these respite teams. You
Yeah.
need
that would be
food,
good.
we'll
Oh,
bring
gosh,
you food.
yes.
If you need help, we'll bring you
Wow.
help. If you need babysitting, we'll bring you babysitting. And these teams, so it's formed out of small groups. Like Taylor, I think, small group. Does anybody know if this is true?
What,
Like
Taylor?
what I'm saying, like Taylor's small group of young adults?
I'm not sure.
Okay. There are teams of people I know here at Life that
Okay.
are a part of the respite teams. And those teams, like anytime the Sullivans, as an example, needed something, they would get a hold of
Oh, that would have been
that's
Taylor,
awesome.
who was assigned
Yeah.
to them. Like their small group was
Got
assigned
you.
to the Sullivans, and whatever they needed, take the kids, get food. So
Wow.
it's really a great thing.
That's
but
awesome.
again, it's never really,
Been
I don't know
used.
that it's got a tens of traction,
Yeah.
and connection with how it can
that's
work
good.
together. But I think it's a good answer
Yeah.
to what we've been trying to discuss
Yeah.
earlier. So maybe you can put it out after
Okay.
this podcast, of,
Yeah.
like from a resource standpoint, because I do
Yeah.
think that the Hands of Hope is a
That
great.
would be awesome to get involved in because I
Yes.
mean we've had times where with Abby, no one will take her
Right.
because of the fetal alcohol, the attached disorder, the ADHD, the PTSD. Every place like Parkview and all them,
Well, Parkview was done with her.
they were done.
Wow.
They couldn't take
They
her.
said not to bring her back no more.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
Right.
So then it's like it left us with what do we do now?
Yeah.
Right.
I do know Pathfinders is opening a house too in Roanoke for respite care.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So either way, you could put that out there, because I know that now Bree, I know they meet here. I mean,
Yes,
they meet
they
at
do.
the church, and I know there's a whole thing that goes with it.
Yeah.
And there used to be a donation center here. When people would come, they could donate. And then it was like, as a foster, if you had a need, you could walk up to our donation center and grab stuff out of it.
That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Used to be. Now, I don't know. And that was the idea. The idea is we would be a funnel for people
Like a
and
hub.
donations. And then so we could, they could present it to the church, and church could
Right.
put together these teams, and every church could do it.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd have these teams of people that have become respite teams.
Yeah.
And so you as a family would be assigned to a team of At Life Church, and we would be your people.
Right.
Right. And
That's
we
cool.
Would, we
That is
would help
awesome.
that get done. So anyway.
I like
That's
that
awesome.
idea. All right, Robert Glover. Robert Grover. He wants to know, how does it feel knowing that you have formed a boy into a God honoring man? And how would you voice for that? Okay, oh my gosh. How would you voice that for the people and boys listening today? Love you, Mom and Dad, and keep it up. Thank you. This is your favorite son, by the way. LOL.
Yeah.
He's been a blessing. He really has. All the son-in-laws have. I like watching them own their own faith. And
Yeah.
being a part of that. It's from a father standpoint, or from the, I guess I would say, patriarch standpoint. It's just the best. It's the best thing I'd want to see. I see. Now these are the leaders of the households.
Right.
That are going to raise my grandkids. Not a person couldn't want anything more, but for them just to grow up in a God honoring home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how cool is it that this whole reproduction
Yes.
process, here you are, you're up at church, somebody poured into you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're pouring into them, and they'll continue this cycle because they've watched it happen. I mean, I can't say any more than that. When kids watch it happen, there's no secret sauce.
No.
It's when it's happened to you,
Yep.
you usually turn around and give it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And own that
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's not that Karen and I's done everything right, because we haven't. But
Well,
whenever I screwed up, which I did several times, I always tried to at least apologize and
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, for sure. Yeah,
Make it right.
yeah, good.
not do it again.
Yeah,
But it's neat to see the older kids pouring into the younger kids
Yes.
too.
right.
Yep.
Because we've seen that there's been issues where one of them will do something and we've been able to step back
Wow.
And,
and let the older ones take charge
but
of
there
them.
again, the older ones are in, 30 down in the mid 20s.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
Right.
But it's neat to see them do that.
Right. It is because you poured into them.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right. Lisa Freeman wants to know what made them decide fostering was right for them. How long have they been fostering? Which,
Yeah, we kind of answered.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long?
Yeah.
I don't know if we got that. Like,
Oh gosh. We got Abby and then she was 3 and 1. We did it until I think 9. She was
Okay.
9 because she had so many issues.
Mhm.
At the time, we couldn't bring anybody else
Yeah,
in the
for
house.
sure. Yeah.
So we had to kind of stop for that or we
Right.
would have still been bringing them in.
so 9 years.
Yeah,
9
10
years.
Yeah.
All right. Elizabeth Grover. Which of the 7 girls is your favorite? Did you know that was coming?
Yes.
Does she say that a lot?
No, Morgan Kay does.
Our second oldest one says
She
that
always-
she's the favorite.
She always
Yeah.
says she's the favorite because she reads a lot, and there's a saying that basically if you say something long enough, it becomes the truth.
Yes.
Yep.
That's good.
So do we have favorites?
No.
No.
Better not.
I love
You'd
them
be in
all.
trouble.
I know.
They tell me I sometimes love their friends more than them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm my mom's favorite and I know it.
Yeah.
So do my siblings.
Yeah, I bet.
All right. The number that or not the number, because I never told you the number, but the number will be at the
Because
bottom.
that's all the questions.
Yes, that's all the
Yeah,
questions.
got it.
All of them
Okay.
done. That was a lot.
Yeah.
I had to go back through,
Yeah.
figure them out. But what I just read off the questions, I send out a text every week and I let you know who's going to be on the podcast. And we want you to ask our guest questions. So that gets you a different aspect or perspective into their life than what Mike and I can get out of them.
Yeah.
But we just want you to be involved and we want you to be involved with us on the podcast.
Yeah.
So if you know a guest, you have questions about our guests or anything else, we just want you to respond.
Yeah, good. And again, thank you guys. I know we didn't
Thank
get
you.
into a lot. So like I said, I hope
That's
we can
fine.
bring you guys back. But I do think for the people that are listening out there, like this is a podcast to share with other people. Because
Yeah.
again, this is something that this is big on all levels, right? So what was discussed today is more than just how do we figure out the foster care system? Is how do we as a people live by faith?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. And how do we
definitely.
continue to allow us to have the eyes and the heart and the mind that God has? And it's cool because it has nothing to do with whether you haven't or haven't made mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this is the key of for all of us is that we don't even have to say that because everybody knows it. Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
we already know if you are going to be obedient and you're going to follow the Lord, you are going to make mistakes and we are
Absolutely.
going to
Definitely.
make decisions that aren't the best.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what he's looking for is a man and a woman after God's own heart.
Yeah.
Like somebody that's going to keep pursuing. And I think for anybody that's listening, that's what they see in you guys. Not, whether you made mistakes or whether you made great decisions. I think what people are looking for is people who are going to passionately follow the heart of God, right?
Yes.
And try to do whatever he's called you guys to do. So I mean, it's been inspirational to listen to you guys
Yeah.
and to be able to learn more about your story and to be able to see what God has done in your life. And I think, again, as Robert shared, is that, listen, at the end of the day, and I'm sure that this isn't just the only story, is that when you watch that and when you're intentional and when you do the things that you guys have done, that is infectious, right? Like it goes to other people, whether you wanted it to or not. Like
Yeah.
it just does. And that multiplication process. And I think we can all be praying together that can we be obedient? Can we take steps of faith? Can revival happen? Not because we have all the answers, but because we're just willing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So when we say
Yeah.
you don't have to say revival in such an area or such an area. All I'm saying is revival to the point where comfort isn't the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so Jenny will give you a bunch of resources, hopefully, from this Sir
Yes,
Francis
I do
Drake
have a lot,
prayer.
yeah.
If you want that and you want to pray it every day, she'll put it out there for you. The Hands of Hope, the opportunity to be able to understand what that is and how to be able to get involved. So if you're listening, she'll be able to put those out, on our social media. And again, for anybody that's listening or watching, they need to come up. They need to talk to you guys. They need to get to know you. Again, just whether it is to say hi, because again, I think your story is something that so much of us can learn from. And we just appreciate your heart, and what you've done for young people and how God's going to continue to use you. And I think those are amazing things. So
resources.
Again,
If you want resources for the Hands of Hope or anything else, you can go to our app, which under our app, we have a resource tab and we'll just put them on there too.
Oh, okay.
That way they can just have a direct link.
Yeah, perfect. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you can put the Sir Francis Drake prayer out somewhere.
Yes, I can. You just have to remember. Nick will probably remember.
Yeah, Nick's got it.
Yep.
Yeah. If you look at the annual report from last year,
is that what you have on yours?
So it's
I think I do remember seeing that.
Yeah, so it's called Disturb Us, Lord. And so
okay. I'm going to have to look at it again.
But again, so thanks everybody again for joining us. Thank you for taking time to get to know, more people and having an opportunity to get to know our guests today and just being able to share in their journey and be able to pray for you guys as you continue to move forward. And we're thankful that you listen, thankful that you watch. We pray that you will share it, put comments out there on YouTube, because every time that happens, more people get an opportunity to be able to see it. And again, we just believe that stories impact people. So we thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
So thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you.